Very much. What's happening to Lincoln? He's gotten the nomination. It looks like it's game over. How is he preparing? I mean, he's had that legislative experience, one term in Congress, no executive management experience. What the heck is going through his mind?
Well, that's hard to say, but what he did was, in essence, stay in Springfield, Illinois, the capital of Illinois and where he lived, and shut up. And this was highly criticized by a number of people who thought he should try to mollify the South. Say, listen, I know you didn't vote for me, but I'm really no threat to you, and make a concerted effort to try and soothe any ruffled feathers. As we know, the election caused South Carolina to secede, and a number of other states shortly after that. A number of people thought that he should reach out to the South, and he refused to do that. He said, I've made my position clear, which he did, and that's that. And so in many ways, this was a very canny political strategy, because it left his opposition in the Republican Party a little bit unsure as to how to proceed. If they wanted to get a place in the cabinet, they couldn't be too critical. He didn't make a lot of the cabinet choices till fairly late, and so they had to be nice until he did.
So he was actually kind of tamping things down and moving to lower that rhetoric.
Well, not really. He didn't engage in that at all. There was a lot.
But what I'm saying is, all right, if he's not saying anything and these guys want a job, they don't want to go out
on the side of the Republican Party.
Yeah,
And there were a lot of people in the Republican Party that thought that the South ought to be accommodated to. But the majority of Republicans took a rather strong stand and said, we're done compromising here. We're not going to interfere with slavery in the South, but that's it. You know, we've had the compromise of 1820, had the compromise of 1850. We did away with that in 1854 with the Kansas-Nebraska Act. We're through with this. I mean, you guys have played this game long enough. They'd threatened secession for years and years and years. Of course, as we know, this time they actually did it.
Now, there was a ploy that that some people were looking at, maybe more than a ploy. There's the term manifest destiny. Well, how do you define that? Some people said the way to solve this problem is to declare another war against Mexico.
Well, that'd be sort of hard to do, since Mexico wasn't doing anything that would trouble the United States. Plus, we had taken about a third of it a few years before that, so what else is left? Manifest Destiny was the sort of the slogan of let's move west because God wants America to reach the coast, which California was a state at this time, but there was a vast area in between that wasn't organized into states. So it's our duty as Americans to move towards the west. Now the question is, when the South moves towards the west, are those states, and we're talking about New Mexico, what could be eventually Arizona, Oklahoma, were these going to be slave states? The Republicans opposed that. Their attitude was no more slave states. The slave states, on the other hand, said, well, this is interfering with our rights. So we have the battle lines drawn here. Lincoln supported the position that there would be no more slave states. The slavery would not move into the North. The existing slave states could stay what they are, but they're not going to move west.
There was some sentiment about how you define that. We wanted to be coast to coast. Most politicians said that, but
right.
I mean, we fought with Britain to try to push that envelope to Canada at one time,
yeah.
A long time before that, and Mexico seemed very attractive in terms of getting more territory.
In a way, but you know, there was a racist element. These people were Hispanic, and do we really want to bring them into our country? We still have that today, don't we? We have this argument about the status of Mexico. So there really wasn't much of an interest in making Mexico part of the United States, although it didn't take long before the United States realized that Mexico had a lot of oil, and the interference by the United States in Mexican internal affairs went on well through the 19th and into the 20th century. But as far as conquering territory, there really wasn't much of an interest after all of California, what is Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona, parts of Colorado were taken away from Mexico after the Mexican-American War.
How difficult was it for Abraham Lincoln to go from just traveling in a time when our country's in such disorder, traveling from Springfield, Illinois to Washington?
Well, actually, he did it all by rail. And this was a fairly new mode of transportation. Moving at 30 miles an hour was considered an absolute wonder at the time, and maybe even up to 40 or 50 miles an hour. He traveled by rail, not a direct route, made stops for speeches. He went from Springfield to Indianapolis, down to Cincinnati, up to Columbus, and then to Buffalo, across New York, down through New York City. Obviously, that's not the direct route, but if you're a politician, you seldom take the direct route to anything.
You're stamping your ticket. We're running out of time for this segment, but Dr. Blankemeyer, thank you so much for visiting. Thank you for taking these curveballs, because none of this stuff was pre-rehearsed.
No, it wasn't, but I'm glad to do it.
And thank you for joining us for Studio 21. We'll see you later.